whew, we have made it this far and we still have more to go. So the challenge so far has led us into the space of examining our perceptions and how our perceptions of the world create happiness and reality that we understand. So we yesterday looked at associations, kind of talked about how colors have associations and certain words have associations. And prior to that, we were able to do a body scan to understand the associations that we have with our body and do a healing exercise with that. And so now we're getting used to just moving and making our world malleable, making our perceptions malleable, making the cultivation of things of change possible, right? We've been doing that for a little bit. And now we're going to also flow into that state in the form of examining yesterday's list of the positive words. So we're going to focus on the positive connotations that we had, the stories that were around the words, and the words that I'm talking about are delight, forgiveness, respect, benevolence, fairness, and admiration. I think in replace of, or in addition to respect, there could have also been contentment is another one. And this challenge is challenging. It is very true. So the respect one could be contentment because it has to do with the ability of like understanding. That's their place, kind of a thing. Like I respect the sovereignty of that being, right? And so we did a kind of an association, and I had these words come up, and then you were to describe what you saw. Did you see something come up through the mental part of you, the emotional part of you? Did you see a story? Was it an occurrence or a moment in life, an event? All of those things. And from those descriptions, we get this tie, this connection from our mental to our emotional into our heart space of how that's a beneficial thing, right? And so the associations we have with those words, we get this barometer of how impactful they are for us. And same with those negative words. So the negative words, of course I don't have that in front of me anymore. The negative words, hate was one of them, the opposites of the ones that I just used, but the words that I just talked about, we could use hate. So when you think about hate, there's a certain perception and it triggers certain responses about you. So there's primed energy about you, and that's a perception that you have in the world. That's programming, right? And so same thing for if you have respect or if you have benevolence for something. There's a primed response, and you can see yourself doing these, engaging in this type of behavior, so to speak, such as I had a benevolent experience with X, Y, and Z, or I enjoy the idea and the entity, so to speak, of fairness. And so that's a quality that I exude in my life, and you notice that maybe you picture yourself as being a fair person, and so you see yourself doing these fair things, and you look for fairness in life. This is the other thing that we notice, is that our perceptions make us keen at observing these types of things in the world. And so if I have a very, very strong pull toward fairness and forgiveness, then I will notice and respect those things more in my life. Much on the similar aspect as if we have a strong pull to the negative side of things. And so that could be you really dislike hate, and it drives you to do it kind of takes over your life in a certain way, such as you have to prevent hate from happening or whatever. And that's great. Okay, that's a very valuable thing to have like trigger, right? I don't like to see that sort of thing. And when we have those perceptions, is that perception creating merit for us, or is it taking up our time? And this is where we get to explore the cultivation of our perceptions and how we want to view the world, how we want to interact, the associations that we want to have. And so, much like you would do in a loving kindness meditation, so focusing on love and with those feelings of love, we're going to go ahead and do an association, so to speak, a cultivation of these other qualities, and we're going to make them malleable within us. So what I recommend you to do is enter into a quiet state with yourself. You could say this is a meditation, but just go ahead and sit down and relax, and enter into a breathing space where you become aware of your body, breathing in and out through your nose, making sure you're comfortable, all of those things. And then just think of something that brings you delight. And this has to do with a person. So thinking of a very strong association with a person. And generally you want to use somebody who's, let's just use this association. If I'm going to use the word delight, the person that you think of, or the being, this could be a non-human form being, that brings you the most delight. And you're going to focus on the qualities of this person that bring you the most delight. And then you will go ahead and take those qualities and put them onto people that don't necessarily have those qualities. You could even take this onto inanimate objects, okay? Because we're moving things around a lot. We're talking about the whole perception of the world. And if I want to have a delightful experience when I'm something simple, like looking at certain colors or certain scenes, or maybe if I want to have a delightful experience when I am trying to deconstruct and disempower a fear, then I can bring in those emotional states of delight into a different state and just experience them, give myself practice cultivating those in those new scenarios, such as if you are a person that, let's just say, is somebody's just posting, I need to catch up so much. Yes, I know. Which is the beautiful thing about this challenge, is because you can do this at your own pace. The only milestones are at the 30-day marks. Okay, you have to have those completed by that point. Some of these days might take you a couple days. Some of these challenges of the day could take you a couple days to integrate or go through. So just give yourself leniency on that, and know that if you do need to do like 3 assignments in one day, to do it and get it done. Because I want to give you guys the benefit. Plus, sticking on this really gives you the barometer of how much dedication you have, your ability to stay focused in things, and your ability, the foundation of self-care that you have, the rituals that you have. We'll examine those a little bit later too. Comes up in another 10-day section of this. So anyway, going back to cultivating emotion, or cultivating delight. So I have a delightful experience with this being, and then let's say I want to change around an association with, well, why don't we just say like test taking, or something that can be like nerve-wracking like that, like test taking. I want to switch my associations, which will probably be negative in some way, and I want to bring delight to those things. And so you would bring your most beloved into a scenario where you have that. So imagine yourself taking a test and your most beloved is next to you, or something of that nature, and they're having a good time doing this, and they're exhibiting the qualities that bring you delight, and so you then emulate those for yourself within your imagination, okay? And you go, wow, I really am delighting in this, and so I'm going to do this for myself in my imaginative experience, and I'm going to delight in this as well. So it takes practice, it takes dedication, and I'm asking you to just choose 2 of those words and explore. You can do more, but this gives us more practice with cultivating emotions and rewriting our perceptions, like I said, and we're working with the positive ones, because it's amazing that we can like take something and just shift a teeny bit, such as if I'm going to focus on benevolence is a really good one, and so is fairness. And I say that because there's a lot of emotional connections to those, as I'm reading my list over here. If I'm saying benevolence, I'm going to bring in something that I have a lot of benevolence for, and then I'm going to go, okay, how can I also have benevolence for something else? So I'm going to force myself to go into a benevolent act with another individual. And this could be starting off with somebody that you do know. So maybe you need to bring benevolence to a situation in your life. And this is a really good way to understand that, oh, so I do know how to cultivate the feelings of benevolence, and now I'm going to transfer them into this situation. It's almost like a what would I do kind of a thing in this situation if I were to exude benevolence in this moment. So the same thing could be on fairness, and you can think of like what's a really fair act. And you could picture a fair act happening and then go, okay, so how would I bring fairness to this if this is part of a perception of the world that I want to continue to cultivate? What you're doing is, through this exercise, is giving your brain the ability to create new neural networks that are making you more keen on when to focus on fairness and when to look at things in a more fair way, okay? Or, and the same thing would be benevolent way. If you did this on respect, the same thing. Admiration, same thing. Delight, same thing, okay? You're going to tune your antennas to focusing on these things in life. But as you do the moving of associations, you create new neural pathways, or you focus your antennas into areas that you didn't previously have experience doing that. And so you're changing the perception of your life. You're literally changing who you are. Because an example would be, okay, let's use an example of delight of going into the DMV. Generally, nobody has that. You get to wait in line. Not everybody's happy to be there, et cetera, et cetera. I find it to be very meditative. I like to go in there and just do my thing, read a book, and wait, and actually have a good time. And so in that space, I might examine a delightful scenario, being like, oh, I'm going to, like, let's say, I'm enjoying a garden. I garden a lot. I really love doing that. And so I have a very delightful association with that. So I would be like, oh, wow, I'm gardening. You know, I'm looking at flowers and plants I'm examining. I'm having this great time. And so I feel the feelings that I'm having. And then I could go and imagine myself at the DMV, kind of doing the same thing, but replacing certain objects in the DMV perhaps with certain flowers. And then just looking at it and going, wow, that's a really cool. And instead of seeing like the automated machine that they have that does like various tasks, I would see a sunflower. Okay, and I could start treating that like a sunflower. No, it's not a sunflower, but I'm trying to come from my emotional response to act as if it were a sunflower or something of that nature, right? I'm saying I want to bring in that positive association to that part of the vision, the experience. And then the next time I walk in, I already have it preloaded in my brain that this is going to be a positive experience because I'm kind of like walking up to a sunflower in a way. But then as I have an experience with it, in the back of my mind, I'm going gardening. This is great. This is having a great time, and I'm interacting with this machine. And I've kind of front loaded my experience with this delightful experience. And now you are front loading your whole experience with this machine with delight. And this is just in my imagination. So the next time I walk in, I will experience this kind of a thing. So I'm changing the perception that I have. The next time I see even another machine that would do something similar, maybe it's a Coinstar or something like that, right? Any machine, I would have delight when I go and look at it. And that has to do with the perceptions that you're changing. So go ahead and pick 2 of those words from the challenge yesterday, and if you want, you could choose another word and work on this. You could choose like, you could do love, but that's also just doing a loving kindness meditation. But if you want to get creative, you could do fun. Fun is a really good one. What else? Excitement is another one. Inspiration. Any word that you'd have a positive experience with, okay? You can choose, and you write about your meditative experience that you're using to generate that, those emotional qualities, and then you're going to talk about how you transferred it onto another situation and what the practice is you did to do that, and just explain that within that. So I went through one just now, DMV, picturing the parts of my delightful situation into my new experience. And I'm just going to allow that to percolate and allow myself to be like, wow, this machine is so cool and I'm so delighted with it. And just really, if I practice cultivating those emotions, if I start to lose that emotion, you go back to the previous place where you felt the delight, and then you bring whatever delight back. And it's continuously going back and forth. So it's reassociating and then bringing it back. So completely creating an all-around new experience. You're really rewriting a new program. I just had the idea to think of everybody that's in the DMV as like seeds. And they're all just little seeds going about waiting to be planted. And so, yes, they might be like grumpy in certain times, but then it would still be a delight because they all have their own experiences. And when they leave the DMV, they're all going to get planted. Very weird association in some ways, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's just silly. That brings a lot of fun to my life. And I'd like to live in a world full of delight. So that's what my perception is going to be. I'm going to do that. So this is a small, the beginning of changing our perceptions. And this is pretty much a task that you would get if we were to do a one-on-one. We'd go into a little bit more detail about a specific case that you have, and I would guide you through that. But this is, I'm asking you now to just do this on your own. Explore this topic. Choose just 2 words. And of course, you could choose 2 of your own or 2 from the list that we did previously, and just experience those and write about it. How did you want to shift and why? What was your process in doing that? And talk about how you feel afterwards. Okay? Yes, yes. Good assignment for today. Tomorrow we have another assignment. Be prepared. Dun, dun, dun. So with light and love, if you do need to reach out to me, please do so. Of course, tonight we're doing a meditation. Show up, show up, show up if you are called for support. Today we look a little bit into perceptions, but it's into the stories that we have. So it's kind of fun. Anyway, with light and love, I say namaste. Go throughout your day and have an amazing time. Notice where your perspectives in life can uplift you a little bit more, create more excitement. And those are the areas that you work in. Always, always shooting to create more experiences and meaning from your life. So have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.